Hello and welcome aboard, everybody. For those who I have not had the chance to meet before, I'm Dr. Richard Nongard with the International Certification Board of Clinical Hypnotherapists and SubliminalScience.com. Today, I'm going to be talking about SAD, Seasonal Affective Disorder. Just the other day, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's a clinical hypnotherapist on the East Coast. He called me with frustration. As soon as I picked up the phone and said hello, he said, "It's going to snow again." He said, "I'm tired of shoveling snow. I've been shoveling snow a couple times a week, every single week for the last month. I'm tired of it. I can't handle it anymore. I gotta get out of New York City." Now, I took in a breath and I gave him a moment to take a breath, and we spent a little bit of time talking about his frustration this winter. And for those of you who are participating from the USA, it's been a particularly brutal winter in most parts of our country. But seasonal affective disorder really is not weather dependent. Weather and difficult weather like snowstorms and ice storms and the tasks of having to travel in this can certainly exacerbate our frustration level. But seasonal affective disorder has some interesting physical as well as emotional causes. And seasonal affective disorder affects a significant portion of our population. Now, one of the things I find interesting about seasonal affective disorder is that even professionals often dismiss it as being a less important form of depression or a less than important condition, because often changes in the season bring, of course, resolution to the depressed states that people feel. But the reality is a significant portion of the population, both worldwide as well as in the USA, experience seasonal affective disorder. The estimates in the USA are about 4 to 6% of the population. What's interesting is that the southern states have less seasonal affective disorder. According to the American Academy of Family Physicians, about 1.7% of Floridians experience seasonal affective disorder, and that goes all the way up to New Hampshire, where about 9.7% of the population report symptoms associated with seasonal affective disorder each and every year. There are a number of different causes for seasonal affective disorder. Some of those are related to emotional management. Some of them are related, if you will, to psychology. We're even going to talk a little bit about the metaphysics of seasonal affective disorder. But really, its primary cause is most likely rooted in the natural rhythmic cycles of daylight and darkness. And of course, those in the northern part of the hemisphere have less daylight than those in the southern part of the hemisphere. And the reality is a decrease in sunlight, and sun is certainly important to us. It provides us vitamin D on a physical level, and it provides us brightness on an emotional level. And so we can see how seasonal affective disorder is at its root cause not something we can really control. We can't really control how many hours of daylight we have in the day. My friends up in Canada, my friends up in Norway, my friends up in Alaska sometimes express to me difficult frustrations with the long and dark winters. These natural cycles affect us on a physical level, and the physical manifestation of the long nights and the short days seem to be the primary cause of seasonal affective disorder. Now, even though we don't seem to be able to do too much about the cause of seasonal affective disorder, we can do things that impact the experience we have with seasonal affective disorder or the severity of the condition. In fact, clinical hypnotherapy with the clients who I work with in my office is a highly effective tool, and with many of my clients, they leave my office. This is my office where I actually see clients, and they leave my office with a smile on their face, heading out into the short night with renewed hope, a feeling of energy, and with processes that help activate the pineal gland that is probably the source of our physical response to the short days and the long nights during the winter months. Let's talk for a moment about 5 areas where the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder impact the clients that we work with, or maybe even you yourself. The first are the emotional symptoms we see. I characterize this as a restlessness, an irritability, a discontent, particularly during the winter months. Now, it's important to note that people can experience seasonal affective disorder in the summertime. There are people who experience seasonal affective disorder in the springtime or in the fall, but it is more prevalent for most people during the winter months. And that restlessness, irritability, discontent when the groundhog does not see its shadow, an emotional feeling of sadness or an emotional feeling of depression. These are the emotional symptoms of seasonal affective disorder that we see. The social implications of seasonal affective disorder include a loss of interest during periods of seasonal affective disorder in activities and things that previously used to interest us. On a social level, there's a disengagement from those things that usually provide a sense of fulfillment and meaning to us. And many people who experience significant symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, they're actually unmotivated during these time periods to complete even essential tasks, which of course leads to a buildup of even more frustration, more sadness, and more discontent. The physical symptoms of seasonal affective disorder often include weight gain. It often includes an increase in sleeping, and probably the number one complaint that I hear from people with seasonal affective disorder is a fatigue during the times of the year where they experience seasonal affective disorder. There are, in fact, dietary symptoms. It's interesting to note that people who are experiencing seasonal affective disorder report an increase in comfort foods, heavier foods, and particularly unhealthy foods made of simple carbohydrates. And this pattern of eating that can emerge really as a response to seasonal affective disorder can exacerbate the symptoms in the long run. And on a metaphysical level, the deepest plane of our existence, the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder include a lack of meaning, a sense of global dissatisfaction in life. And from my clients who report intense symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, they're often faced with a feeling of impending doom, or a feeling of even being trapped or claustrophobic as a result of experiencing seasonal affective disorder. Now, people ask me all the time, how can clinical hypnosis be useful as a tool for helping people to overcome seasonal affective disorder? The answer to that comes in really 5 different areas where I have found clinical hypnosis to be a useful tool with my clients. First, it can actually be used to change our physical awarenesses. Now, this program on seasonal affective disorder includes a self-hypnosis MP3, a full session. And there are many things in that full session that you're going to find valuable for addressing your own needs during periods of depression during the seasons, as well as tools that you can use to share with clients who you work with. But I want to give you a quick example of how we can actually use a hypnotic process to change the way we feel physically. And physical complaints, somatic complaints, are often at the top of symptoms that our seasonal affective disordered clients experience. And so, even though this isn't a complete session here, go ahead and close your eyes. Let your hands, let them rest comfortably on your lap. And breathe in and breathe out, and as you breathe in and breathe out, just focus on a feeling of stillness which you have created. Pay attention to your breath. In this exercise, you don't have to speed up or slow down your breath. Just breathe and pay attention to the breath. Now scan your body. And anywhere you're carrying the tension of the day, let those muscles relax. Unclench the jaw. Unclench the muscles in the furrowed brow. Relax your shoulders. Relax your neck. You can even let your chin drop a bit towards your chest. That'll help you to relax further. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice how your breathing has already become a little bit slower, more smooth, and more rhythmic. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice anywhere where tension remains in the body and let that tension disappear. And as you notice the feeling of the relaxed muscles in the body, notice how it creates a sense of heaviness. It's easier just to let that chin fall towards the chest. It's easy to let those hands simply relax on your lap. You can even notice that your feet, although they're grounded on the floor as you watch this video, feel a sense of heaviness and comfort. And as you breathe in and breathe out, bring your attention to your hands. As you bring your attention to your hands, become fully aware of them resting on your lap. The feeling of the fingers on your thighs, the feeling of the palm of your hands on top of your clothing. As your hands rest, deeply relaxed, think of the word warm. You can even picture it in your mind, the word warm. Think of warmth, and think of your hands. Warmth like that which might come from the sun, or warmth like that which simply comes from inside of the body, and say to yourself, my hands are warm. My hands are warm. And as you say that to yourself, notice a feeling of warmth in the hands. It's something that we've created by simply noticing it, saying to ourselves, my hands are warm. My hands are warm. Now this is only a demonstration. We'll get to our full session in a while, but it feels pretty good to relax deeply for a moment, doesn't it? And so take in a breath, and as you take in a breath, breathe in, breathe out. Let yourself feel energized by that breath, and open the eyes feeling absolutely fantastic. Open the eyes feeling fantastic. Now that was a very short process, but what did we create? We didn't turn the air conditioner on or off in the room where you are. I think it actually came on in my room where I am, but the temperature stayed the same. But most people who are participating, even though that was just a short experience, were able to create an awareness or a sense of warmth. That's a process of autogenic training, and something I incorporate into most of my hypnosis sessions, so that we can actually change the content of our client's physical experience related to seasonal affective disorder. The second thing that hypnosis can be useful for is it can create hope. It can create hope through the power of visualization. And visualization is one of the most powerful tools in clinical hypnosis. It is something I utilize in almost all of my hypnosis sessions. And using visualization to create hope for a new season is something we can do in our hypnosis sessions with our clients. Seasonal affective disorder can be reframed using hypnotic language and hypnotic techniques in an effort to help a person manage the metaphysical symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, to rise above the momentary experience to a state of acceptance and embrace of the different seasons which we have. That's a really powerful technique that hypnotherapy can offer to our clients. It can also be used to motivate and train new coping behaviors. One of the things that I see with my clients who experience seasonal affective disorder is I often do things that reinforce the depression. And direct suggestion can be utilized as a technique in clinical hypnosis to help our clients adapt new motivations and to train new coping strategies. And last but not least, for our clients with seasonal affective disorder, clinical hypnosis can be used to activate the pineal gland. Now, let me talk for a moment about the pineal gland. It's a little gland way back in the base of our brain. In evolutionary psychology, we talk about the old brain, the middle brain, and the new brain. And the old brain is actually that part that's most well protected deep at the base of the brain. And that's the old brain. That's been with us for millions and millions of years. And the old brain is the part of the brain that really controls basic functions in life. And the pineal gland is a part of that. Breathing and respiration are controlled not by the pineal gland, but in this part of the brain. The pineal gland is part of the endocrine system, and what the pineal gland does is it modulates sleep, the derivation of melatonin from the melatonin from the serotonin that our brains produce. It regulates hormone production, and this is really important because hypnosis can be utilized to activate the pineal gland. It's really an important part of our wellness. The French philosopher René Descartes, he called the pineal gland the principal seat of the soul. In metaphysics, this has been called the third eye or the Anja chakra. And so some of you who are familiar with a metaphysical viewpoint of hypnosis probably have heard of course, the third eye or the Anja chakra. That part of the brain that produces serotonin derivatives like melatonin, that hormone that affects the modulation of sleep patterns, the circadian rhythms, and our body's ability to function within seasonal changes and environments. So one of the questions I'm often asked, since we know the pineal gland is so important, is how can we activate it? Well, we can activate it through a number of processes in clinical hypnosis. There are other processes that we could utilize with clients as well. One of those is Sungazing. Now, this is an interesting relationship, of course, to seasonal affective disorder, who scientists believe is primarily rooted in the long nights and the short days, the lack of sunlight. Now, I'm providing this not as a course in Sungazing. Sungazing can be dangerous, and so I'm only providing this as information to you. I do not want you to practice Sungazing or to recommend it to clients who you work with without proper training in Sungazing to avoid mitigating any damage that could occur. But Sungazing is a process of really meditating with the sun. This is a way to increase our vitamin D levels and to gain exposure to the very important sunlight, which we all need to survive. Sungazing is recommended either in the 1 hour before sunset or in the 1 hour after sunrise. And a person who begins Sungazing is going to start with the eyes closed to acclimate to the sun, and then opens their eyes towards the sun for a period of 10 seconds. Not staring at the sun. It's perfectly okay if the eyes move. In fact, that's actually a good thing. But participating in the awareness and the birth of that star in the new morning, or nighty-night to that star at the end of the day if we're doing this at sunset. And a person who's developing a habit of Sungazing is then going to increase their time from 10 seconds to 20 seconds to 30 seconds, adding 10 seconds to each day. Most Sungazers actually try to work up to about 20 minutes, which, by the way, can actually take several months, of course, at 10-second increments of increase to work your way up to. Now, Sungazing is, when I talk to people about Sungazing, when I share my experiences in Sungazing with them, they say, what do you do on a cloudy day? And on a cloudy day, you can still observe the sun through the clouds without adding additional time. We want to work our way up to to this process of sungazing. But this can be a powerful technique for those with seasonal affective disorder, with vitamin D deficiencies, and those who want to more fully participate with the sun. It's an excellent strategy. It's something I'm introducing in this video to you as something for further study, rather than something I recommend you do or recommend you have your clients do based on the short instructions that I've given here. Again, if not done correctly, damage can actually be done to the eyes, and so you want to work with a person who is trained in this and has been practicing sun gazing as a meditation technique prior to doing this yourself. Yoga is another awesome technique for engaging the pineal gland, particularly two forms of yoga, although I think virtually any form of yoga is useful. The Bikram yoga, which is something I try to practice. I should practice it more often, but it's hot yoga, and I really enjoy Bikram yoga. I find that during my periods of seasonal discontent, Bikram yoga is one of the most helpful things to me, along with another form of yoga which comes from a more spiritual tradition, and that is Kundalini yoga, another form of yoga which I have practiced and found to be particularly useful at stimulating the pineal gland. Another way to stimulate the pineal gland is through vegan, natural foods. What we put into our body affects our body. And there are things that we certainly want to avoid, like simple carbohydrates, the candy from or the sugar from a donut or a candy bar, versus complex carbohydrates like broccoli, which are a good source of energy, versus those simple carbohydrates, which are a temporary source of energy. I really stress healthy eating to my clients with seasonal affective disorder, because often they will actually use simple carbohydrates, sugars, candy bars, as a way to give themselves a burst of energy because they feel a level of fatigue as a result of this, of seasonal affective disorder. And then another way to activate the pineal gland is to simply be aware of the pineal gland. Many of you, this concept or this idea in biology is actually new to you. And we only utilize that which we know. And by learning more about the ability to activate the third eye, the Anja chakra, what in science we would call the pineal gland, is something that's important. Now, another way to not only activate the pineal gland, but to overcome seasonal affective disorder is through movement. I encourage all of my clients to exercise. I have a gym membership. I go down to the gym and I exercise on a treadmill. I do that on a regular basis. Some of my clients don't, though, but it doesn't mean that they can't increase their activity level. And so I try to teach my clients with seasonal affective disorder meditation through movement. I teach them from mindfulness meditation, a walking meditation. This is where they can take meditation to every aspect of the day, where we learn that meditation isn't about stillness, but rather about mindfulness. Movement changes our physiology, it changes our emotions, it changes our thoughts, it changes our body. And so I want my clients with seasonal affective disorder to move. And I give my clients with seasonal affective disorder the same suggestion in clinical hypnosis that I give to my weight loss clients. The suggestion is to download on their smartphone a pedometer app and to take more steps today than yesterday, more steps tomorrow than today, increasing the steps each and every day until we reach 10,000 steps a day. A walking meditation, increasing our activity level through walking, is one of the most effective techniques for seasonal affective disorder. The basic truth here is that if we stop moving, we stop living. Many of my clients with seasonal affective disorder, because of the depression, have stopped moving, and it's time to start living again. A strategy for addressing the depression head-on is to recognize 3 cognitive errors forming what I call the depressing triad among our clients with seasonal affective disorder. The depressing triad really is a set of 3 catastrophizations that our clients will often report who experience seasonal affective disorder. The first catastrophization is about their situation. The phone call I got from my hypnotist friend, oh my gosh, it's going to snow again. This is awful. And there are cognitive errors. Snow is snow. It's neither awful or wonderful. It really is just snow. The meaning we attach to it is either awful or wonderful. But snow is just snow. And when I was speaking with him, he was catastrophizing, creating cognitive errors out of the situation. Now, when those cognitive errors about a situation are unaddressed, then a person often moves on to devaluing themselves and telling themselves cognitive errors about themselves. This situation is awful. It's going to snow some more. I hate snow. I am unhappy. Okay? So they first devalue the situation, it's going to snow, and then they devalue themselves. I can't be happy in a snowstorm. Now, we act on whatever we believe, and so if I believe that I can't be happy in a snowstorm, I won't be happy in a snowstorm. These cognitive errors have to be addressed. Left unaddressed, though, the triad moves from devaluing the situation to the self to the future. Devaluing the future. It's going to snow. Snow is awful. I can't be happy in snow. I will never be happy again. This is devaluing the future. This is the depth of depression that our clients with seasonal affective disorder often experience. Now, in this short video, it's impossible to do a whole workshop on how we utilize cognitive behavioral therapy to address the cognitive errors, the stinking thinking, the things that our clients believe that are not true, and do justice to it. I actually do offer a 6-hour training course in depression, anxiety, and anger, and in that course I go into much greater detail about how we can alter our clients' cognitive errors. But when we see this depressing triad in seasonal affective disorder, there are actually 2 simple strategies. 1, confront the client. What you just told me actually isn't true. It may be what you feel, but feelings are not facts. By confronting them, we can actually help them generate insight and recognize, wow, you're right. It feels so overwhelming, but I can scale it into perspective. The second thing we can do as an intervention with our clients' cognitive errors is during the course of clinical hypnosis, we can create direct suggestions. Think of various approaches to clinical hypnosis, ranging from regression to direct suggestion to metaphor and parable, direct suggestion. And direct suggestions are often formulated by me as counters to my clients' cognitive errors. Then there are other strategies we can utilize. If my client insists on holding on to a misbelief, a cognitive error, I'll often have them take a dry erase marker and actually write on their bathroom mirror the opposite of what they believe. For example, I can be happy in a snowstorm. Now, they might not believe it when they write it on the bathroom mirror, but the reason why I have them write it on the bathroom mirror is it's the first place they are in the morning, it's the last place they are at the end of the day, and they're confronting their own cognitive errors in their own handwriting. And most of my clients who actually write the counters to their cognitive errors on the bathroom mirror, they test them to see if they're true. And when they test them to see if they're true, they find that even though I am cold in snow, or have disliked snow, or prefer warm weather, wow, I can't actually be happy during a snowstorm. I can become aware of that part of me which is comfortable even if my knees tend to hurt in snowstorms or my foot tends to hurt in snowstorms. Another thing I like to do with my clients who have cognitive errors is I like to have them actually take out a pencil and paper. They don't need any art abilities to do this, but draw out the antithesis to their cognitive errors and tape that to the bathroom mirror or the refrigerator or the computer monitor, so they can see themselves happy in a snowstorm. And that's just an example. It's not the snow. Many people with seasonal affective disorder where there is no snow, but the darkness. Maybe they can't even put their finger on it. What is it that's distressing to me during the wintertime, but they have that sense of discomfort inside. One of the other strategies I utilize with my clients in hypnotherapy are strategies of acceptance. When we fight something, when we resist something, it has power. And so if my clients can accept the darkness, if they can accept the cold, if they can accept the snow, something they've probably been resisting, then that which has caused them the most difficulty actually becomes powerless. And this, in the world of clinical hypnotherapy, is known as a paradoxical intervention. And I use a lot of paradoxical interventions with my clients to move them, using processes of clinical hypnosis, to a place of acceptance. We could combine this with visualization even. We're going to have a client imagine themselves with their eyes closed, deeply relaxed, experiencing snow around them or darkness around them, but creating the resource state of happiness using NLP techniques and strategies for creating a resource state. This is a powerful technique that we can use with our clients who have seasonal affective disorder. And the last strategy, which I want to talk about related to seasonal affective disorder and clinical hypnosis, is the strategy of positive affirmation. This is a way of countering our cognitive errors. But affirmations are really about creating with our words a new reality. Now, from a metaphysical perspective, you might recognize this, at least in some part, as the secret. That's what pop culture has called this idea of speaking things into reality. But this is not a new concept at all, even though that movie came out a few years ago. In fact, in Genesis chapter 1, in the Old Testament portion of the scriptures, we actually see that God created with his voice. This isn't an idea restricted to Judeo-Christian scriptures either. In Buddhism, one aspect of the Eightfold Path, the Samavaka, is often translated as right speech, but a more accurate way of translating it would really be wise speech or even skillful speech, which suggests that through practice, affirmation, we can step into a new reality. Religious traditions certainly are filled with accounts of speaking to create a new reality, but philosophers and metaphysicians, apart from religious ideas, have been doing this as well. Charles Haanel actually wrote, "Thought is energy, active thought is active energy, concentrated thought is concentrated energy, and thought concentrated on a definite purpose becomes power." One of the best ways to overcome seasonal affective disorder, undesirable or negative thoughts, is to cultivate positive ones. That's the whole idea of William Walker Atkinson's books. We see this in sports psychology, even in the modern era. In 1991, a sports psychologist journal actually found that healing following a sports injury, the speed and the extent of recovery was directly correlated to goal setting, positive self-talk, and the use of healing imagery. And so, with my clients who come to see me for seasonal affective disorder, I teach them the art of creating positive affirmations, and I integrate that into my hypnotherapy sessions. There are 5 stages, or 5 P's, if you will, for creating positive affirmations. The first is that positive affirmations are in the present. All we have is right now, even if it's snowing and even if it's dark outside. And so positive affirmations is not about what the future is going to be like, But what about the now is going to be life? Those of you who are familiar with Eckhart Tolle, the power of now, or those who are familiar with Fritz Perls, Gestalt therapy. The Gestalt is that German word for the now. Affirmations are positive, they're healthy, they're beneficial, and they're important. And affirmations are personal, they're about me. They are self-directed. The fourth P is proactive. They're not about what you don't want. They are about what you do want. And positive affirmation is about what we're passionate about. I always like the old Saturday Night Live episode on from Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. In the Saturday Night Live skit, they're actually poking fun of positive affirmations, but you know what? It's actually an excellent affirmation. But I teach my clients to say to themselves, I'm good, even if it's cold. I'm happy, even if it's snowing. I'm content, even if the days are shorter. I'm loved, even if it's hard to get out and see other people in my world. I want my clients to tell themselves I'm good, I'm happy, I'm content, and I'm loved. Positive affirmations have the ability to create a new reality for the clients that we work with. I'm very happy that you have participated fully in this educational seminar. I hope that it's been helpful to you in understanding some of the approaches that you can utilize in your own life or that you can utilize with clients in clinical hypnotherapy to impact the area of seasonal affective disorder. This video, of course, comes along with two other things: a script for seasonal affective disorder hypnotherapy sessions, as well as an MP3 of a complete seasonal affective disorder hypnosis session. I invite you, of course, to listen to that MP3, to utilize the power of hypnosis in your own life, to even share that with the clients who you're seeing in clinical hypnosis. The script is something that you can adapt to your clients. Go through the script, change the things you don't like, alter my language to become your language. Utilize it as a resource. Add those things that I've left out that you think are important to address. But utilize that script as a way of making your sessions more effective with the clients who you. For those of you who are interested in the full course on anger, anxiety, and depression, you'll actually find a link below. It offers 6 hours of continuing education. It offers an ICBCH Certificate of Achievement in treating anger, anxiety, and depression. It's an excellent resource for those who have clients with seasonal affective disorder and also wish to go beyond seasonal affective disorder to utilizing clinical hypnosis in an effective way with additional clients. I'm very happy that you have participated in this program. I invite you to check out our website at subliminalscience.com for additional self-help resources and resources that professionals can use with their clients.